7th. I'd like to start out, Mr. Kobrovsky has an ill parent, so he's out of town. He will not be at the meeting tonight. We're hoping his mom recovers and he gets back quickly. So thank you all. First item, approval of minutes for October 15th.
Move to approve. Second.
Moved and approved of October 15th and October 24th. Are there any questions, deletions?
Commendations to the clerk and her staff.
Thank you, sir.
Great. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Consent agenda
Approve 2A through D. Second.
by Reverend Middleton for 2A through B and seconded by Mr. Pryor and Mr. Boykin at the same time, I think.
Give it to Joe.
Give it to Joe, okay. Are there any questions about these? These are items okay to be considered together?
Yes.
Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the ayes have it. Finance Directorate items, financial incentives for Project Aloha.
Move to approve 3A and B.
Second.
Move to approve 3A and B. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oh, sorry.
I guess we don't need the executive session, I just wanted to make sure.
I think Ms. Ham would have told us if we did.
So only if there were questions that came up that would not have been able to be answered in the public session. Yes, sir.
I don't have anything reading the yellow sheets.
Okay.
Okay.
Very good,
They can't
sorry.
find it on that thing.
So, okay, so we move forward to number 4.
Move for approval.
Moved by Mr. Pryor.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Moody. Thompson Hill Road Improvements, eminent domain, request to adopt. Do we have any, we don't have any pictures of this or anything to see, do we? Or any discussion?
There are maps in your
Right, there are.
thing, but
Any discussion on this item?
What is being taken?
There's some right-of-way along the side of a road.
How much? Any,
Right there, if you want to ask the mayor. She's there. The town is requesting this.
Right.
Yeah. The town of Auburndale is requesting it. That's the mayor right there.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes, there's some right-of-way that needs to be adopted to continue the paving of that road. And it's been going on for the past 7, 8 years. And we need to pave.
And you're in favor? The town's in
We
favor?
are, we are.
Great. Any further questions,
I guess
Mr. Darby?
to whom does the land belong?
The land belongs, the person is deceased.
Mr. Darby, or Councilman Darby, all of the land is heiress property, so it has the entire family. I guess we're not able to track down exactly who the heirs are to be able. So it has to be acquired through condemnation, so that
That process.
legally we can take possession of the property and issue payment for the property.
So there's nothing from the family saying we don't want to do this?
No. Everybody's in agreement.
Everybody's in agreement?
Yes, sir.
I mean, if that's the case, because I'm
There-
not that, yes, sir, I'm sorry.
There are 3 parcels, all owned by the same family. Originally, they signed a letter that the town had, or the county had prepared, that they were willing to donate the land.
All right.
They did change their minds. It is 3 parcels. Staff has worked with the residents out there to reduce the right-of-way from 50 feet down to 35 feet, trying to minimize the impacts to all those residents. We've tilted the road to one side, so we only have to put a ditch on one side. So we've done a lot of things to try to reduce those impacts to those residents.
So again, my question, so there's no opposition from the family members? Okay, I'm hearing no.
I believe they're the 3 that are owned by the same, they were originally in favor. I believe they are not in favor of the road anymore. Excuse me. It's not in favor of donating? Okay. The last correspondence we had with them, they were opposed. Now, the mayor may have some more information than we do.
Right.
Now, we have information
Right.
that everybody's on the same page. That's why I'm here tonight.
They were opposed because they weren't getting paid, but now that they're getting paid, they're in favor? Or- Because from what I understand, originally they said yes, and then they came back and said they want to get paid. So we actually paying them for the right-of-way.
We are paying them for the right-of-way, Mr. Pryor, but I believe that we are, when dealing with heirs properties, you always have to pay for the property.
Right, I know, the money has to be put in the escrow, and then
Yes, sir.
the judge decides, yeah, right. I understand how that works.
That is how it's,
Yeah.
is going to happen.
Right, because it's possible to get in touch with all the people, to get this thing done at a timely manner.
Yes, sir.
I think they're taking this as a little green strip.
Okay then. Well, I mean, I'll go along with the mayor as long as you're saying there is, you're the final word with this right here, because not to disparage anything, but eminent domain is not a part of my DNA, I mean, in terms of the things that I've experienced, in terms of people just being opposed. But if you're saying that it's okay, and not that I'm discarding what the county is saying, but if you are saying as mayor that it was okay by the families, okay. Okay, ma'am. All right, Mayor, you have no reason to fabricate, ma'am, so. No, absolutely none, ma'am, absolutely none. Yes, ma'am. All right, thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
I'm here.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Any further discussion or any more questions for the mayor?
No, I'm good.
Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Hey.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Chair, move to approve 5A through J and 5L through S, removing 5K.
I'll second that.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve all but 5K. Are we going to go through these tonight and see, have explanations, or?
Happy to do that, sir,
No,
if you would like.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
we can do that on Tuesday if we want to. I just want to get it, the council,
Right.
you know, we've read some of this, so
I've read-
I'm satisfied with everything except 5K.
Ms. Ham, question on 5A. This correctly, we're permitting this project to go through without a title endorsement or title opinion, or did I read that correctly? Should have asked you earlier, but
Title insurance.
I'm sorry, Mr. Moody, let me get to the right page here.
take time.
And with regards to the proposed amendment, I am actually going to defer to Mr. Davis and let him explain exactly what it is that they are requesting.
So, Mr. Moody, the ordinance does require indemnification through a title insurance policy, but it also gives the Greenbelt Advisory Board the authority to waive that under certain conditions, one of those being that the risk is very low to the county. What we're asking for, you'll recall about a year ago, we changed the ordinance to be more in line with the Greenbelt Board being an advisory body. We feel staff, along with legal, is better positioned to make those determinations of when we can waive that title policy insurance requirement. And the reason it's come about now is because the Mount Pleasant Way, they are mostly doing recreational easements for the property, which is a very thin strip of easement, very low cost. And it would add quite a bit of cost to the overall project to require a title insurance policy for every single parcel along a mile or so stretch.
I get that in this case, and I think I'm okay with it in this case. My problem would be going forward, there are no parameters under which the Greenbelt Advisory Board could not approve that. That is something a little more significant project, because it just seems to me, I would never close a loan without title insurance. I don't care what it is. So if it's just for little strips to make their bike ped path, I get that and understand that, but to have them have unlimited authority to waive title insurance is problematic. I think we ought to build a little box around that.
Okay.
That's my opinion. I'm gonna vote no on 5A if we could split that out.
So let's amend this 5B through J, 5L through S.
All right, I'll amend that.
Thank you. Okay, so let's go ahead and vote on 5B through 5J. What they're doing. And 5L through 5S. Is everybody in agreement with that? Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Or say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Now we'll go back and vote on 5A and 5K. 5K, is there any, 5A, is there any more discussion?
Just one other thing, I'll obviously go with what the majority says, but however this comes out, I think there needs to be some parameters put in here, if we're going to allow the Greenbelt Advisory Board to do that, because for a little slip like this, I get it, but to have them have unlimited, I'm repeating myself now, but
So would we want to send them back and have them bring something else back with a little bit more?
May I offer some clarification? Yes, ma'am. Or Mr. Davis, the concept here is that they are an advisory board, and we are recommending that it actually come back to staff and legal to do that as opposed to the advisory board. So we're actually trying to extract the fact that they are the approver and bring it back to your staff and should legal. And Mr. Davis,
That's accurate.
that changes things.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was getting ready
Okay.
to explain.
Okay, I think Mark or somebody sits with that group, and there's an attorney present, which is comforting, but I would not want that advisory board to have that decision. That I'm fine with it then.
I would agree with you.
Thank you.
All right, let's vote on
Forget what I said.
5A. Are there any more questions about 5A?
Move for approval.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? You guys have that one? Okay, 5K.
Chairman,
Yes, sir.
well, I'll wait, but I got questions on 5K. I saw they brought this up to us, but if you go, the department has recommendation and you read this, the public will not have actually full access. It would only have access when the field is not being used by the Little League. If you read it, it says, the approval of this project includes the following special conditions. While Little League shall have top priority over athletic field usage to the extent practicable, accommodations shall be made to allow the public to schedule park of field time when the areas are not reserved for league activities. And so what we will be doing here is we will be actually allowing them to use these fields as they see fit, and if they use these fields 364 days out of the year, only one day will go to the public. And so I've never voted for a project that the public doesn't have, 100% access versus just access when it's not being used. So I cannot support this, and I hope the rest of the council sees this too, because wasting, $1.6 million of the taxpayers' money, and the public only has little access to none because it depends on what time the fields are going to be used. I mean, I think we can find something somewhere else if they really want Little League fields, but I think this, to say part-time access versus full, that's a waste of the taxpayers' dollars. And the public should have full-time use of this property.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Would it be appropriate if I were to have Ms. Olson, Ms. Bull come up and speak very briefly, less than 2 minutes, about those concerns that Mr. Pryor's written about the access for the public and the employment of the property?
And who is coming up?
Ms. Olson, who's with the Low Country Land Trust, who worked on this project, and Ms. Bull is the person over the Little League organization that.
I think so, sure.
Okay.
Let's hear from them. And Mr. Davis, do you maybe have a presentation for this one?
Yes, sir.
Or do you have anything else to add? Let's see what they have to say.
I'll pull that up while they're speaking.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. My name is Natalie Olson. I'm the Sea Islands Program Director from the Low Country Land Trust, and we appreciate y'all giving us the opportunity to very briefly address that concern. So the Main Road Park project is a project that will be owned and managed by the Barrier Islands Little League, and the idea is for it to be open to the public when the Little League is there using it, in addition to allowing for public reservation of the fields or the areas at any time when the Little League is not using it. So the restrictions on the public access are focused on the security and the safety, and so there will be a gate and fences so that the fields aren't vandalized and there's not, trash left on the property and whatnot. So it would be managed in a way that typical fields are managed, where there's, it's closed after dark. But the Barrier Islands Little League would be using it for their fields and practices, and that would be open to the public during all of those times. And additionally, when they're not there with the gate open and having a presence, then the public could reserve any of the spaces at the field at any other time. And so in the part of the long-term plan also includes walking trails. And so in addition to the recreational fields, some of the more active park uses, the public would be able to be using those passive walking trails as well. But I'll briefly let Mary Bowles, the president of the Barrier Islands Little League, so she can speak a little bit more to the plans.
So, thank you very much. We are already looking with things with the school system for using the leap fields for state baseball tournaments, because the fields will be up to code, and our children from Johns Island won't be having to travel. We can also do Little League regional and state tournaments. We have spoken with the American Legion Baseball Association, which is also looking for a home to call their own. It's not that we're trying to tell people they can't use the fields. Our fields now are used by lots of people. We hold birthday parties. We just a week ago hosted a mother-son kickball party out there on a Sunday afternoon for one of the school systems. We're not saying people can't use them. They just, Barrier Island Little League Baseball will be first. So during our season, our games will come before anybody else's.
Any further
Any
questions?
other questions?
Question.
Mr. Moody?
I guess maybe more of an observation. This seems like in my district, St. Andrews Playground, Parks and Playgrounds runs something like that. Is your organization set up similar to, what kind of organization are you? It sounds like more like a recreational
Ours is
factor than a green belt.
It's Little League program is what we run.
You have a board? I mean, are you executive director?
It's a board. We're a 501c3. We fall into the Little League International.
Any further questions?
It's
Mr.
just-
Werman?
I mean, I guess you mentioned having some sort of prospective folks that y'all were looking to partner with. I mean, the solution that kind of popped into my mind, because I've seen this in other types of leases and that sort of thing, is just set a day limit to say, no more than X, Y, or Z days a year, the public would be able to reserve it and have access. I wouldn't imagine if you're talking about one league, I would imagine that leaves plenty of time. I don't know if that's feasible if y'all are talking to a number of other folks, though. Is that something that could be worked out, as maybe just changing this condition a little bit might solve some of these concerns? I'm just throwing that out there for thought. Is that something that y'all be open to, I guess, is the first question.
I'm not sure what you're asking.
Would
So
you-
our season, we run 2 full baseball seasons.
Sure.
We run a spring baseball season that starts in January with clinics for the kids. First week of March, we start games. They run till right after Memorial Day. Then we go into tournament play for usually the month of June. Depending on how far you go, you could be playing up till August if you're lucky enough to get to go to Williamsport. Then
So-
we stop, our fall ball starts.
It's the whole year.
Fall ball starts the week school starts and runs until the last week of October.
I got to tell you, this is getting a little more concerning, y'all.
But I'm going to say, we had 42 baseball and softball, between baseball and softball, we had 42 teams this past year. I could not even tell you how many children we turned away from Johns Island, James Island, Wambelow, Mount Pleasant, Somerville, Edisto, Ravenel. All these people are coming to us to play baseball because we have a wonderful program.
Yeah, I don't doubt that. I guess what I was looking for was something to say, 180 would be a pretty low portion, but, to guarantee that the public would be able to have access either 180 days out of a year or 240 days out of a year or something like that. And
They have access to the park, they just wouldn't have access to the baseball field.
That's the point.
So they'll be able to reserve
Okay.
other portions of the park, if not the
Yeah.
fields. So the idea would be to have parking and picnic tables, and so the public
They'll have
is able
walking
to-
trails.
Yeah, to reserve that as well.
okay, appreciate it.
But
Mr.
the
Chair?
reservation, just one more thing on the special condition, our understanding was that there's a reservation system that's open, it's available to the public to reserve the space at any time, and then we're sharing that information if it's requested by Greenbelt. So to the extent that Greenbelt staff are interested, would like to see the number of reservations or increase the number of reservations, then there's the accounting system that we'd be sharing that information and making that available.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Olson, could you just describe, I mean, roughly the estimated area that the baseball fields proper consume of this property and how much is going to be passive park
Yes.
to differentiate what we're talking about restricting?
Yes. So the active area will be it's about a third of the property, 33% of the property, which is about 12 and a half or 13 acres. And if you look at the aerial there, you can see a cleared area on the, right where the mouse is. And that cleared area is about 12 acres. So that will be the active portion. That's where all of the active park uses have to be located. And then the remainder, the remaining 2/3, including the buffer along Main Road, will be undisturbed.
Thank you.
Any further questions?
So the area that's surrounded by the houses, do they have a HOA?
This property is not within an HOA, no.
But the folks that live across are going to benefit from it as well?
Yes, there are a number of neighbors that are in, they're about third acre lot subdivision that are on the right hand, that are on the east side of the property. And then it's larger lots and more agricultural properties on the south and the west.
Well, while it seems to be, admirable, I still say, from what this lady described, is bringing in other tournaments and all these other things, it's impossible to mix all these people on the property at the same time, just walking through. I think you're setting yourself up for a disaster, because if you're going to have crowds coming out, you don't know what kind of crowd's going to be coming to use that walking trail. But if, year-round baseball, like I said, with the public not having, 100%, close to 100% access, I just can't support something like this. I'm a big advocate of baseball, basketball, and youth sports. Coached it for 25 years, and volunteered for 10. But I just don't see how this is going to benefit, the taxpayers. I just don't.
Chairman, can I just ask one more question?
Yes, sir.
Just to clarify, and I think y'all covered this already, but, so you're saying the 30% is the baseball field, but do you have to reserve, the reservation only applies to that sort of part of it? The rest is the other 70% or 65, whatever it is. That's, you just walk onto it, right?
Yes,
Like a regular public park?
yes.
Okay.
Any further questions?
No, thank you, Mr. Wayman, to clear that up. I mean, the fence isn't going around the whole property, it's going around where the ball fields are, correct?
There will be a fence around the entire property, and specifically around the baseball fields will be a secured area, because they're dealing with a lot of small children.
Right.
So the entire property has an existing fence around it, just,
And the plan includes a gate up front to close off the property after dark,
right.
when it's not in use for security, like parks are closed off.
So I guess what I'm trying to clarify, with the concerns a lot of the council members have, can folks go out there and use the passive portion of the park during daylight hours?
Yes,
Okay, so
They'll be
that's not,
open-
it's only restricted at nighttime.
right.
Thank you, that was it.
One other final question. I assume there's plenty of parking plans for everybody for all these uses to coexist at one time?
Yes.
They haven't had an opportunity to do a tree survey yet, so we don't know the exact location, but all of the parking, to the extent legally allowed, will be unpaved. So parking would be allowed outside of the active area because it would be unpaved and
Right.
potentially just used on an occasion.
Okay, good, thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Any further questions? Ms. Honeycutt?
Yeah, Mr. Davis, what neighborhood is behind that parcel?
I'm sorry, I don't know the name of that neighborhood. It's off of Patton Road, is the cross street, just south of the property.
Don't know if it has a name.
All right. This property is located kind of across from Humbert Road, is that right, off of Main? Because one of the other projects we approved tonight was on Humbert Road.
Yes,
And then this is,
if you can see my laser pointer there, this parcel down here is part of that Grayson Oaks property, which is catty corner to the main road project, and then it wraps all the way back up to Humbert Road.
okay. And then who's the landowner involved in this?
Let's see. In the main road part, correct?
Yes, sir.
That is Horace Enterprises, Inc., which is Randall Scott Horace and
Yeah, make this stuff.
Ramona and Derek. Those are the 3 family members.
Okay, like the Randall Juarez that lived on Johns Island at some point? Do you know the applicant or the
I don't.
landowner? Okay.
I have not met the applicant.
I mean, I'm going to support this project because it's the Little League, but it's worth noting that the landowner has been highly critical for a very long time of Charleston County, but we don't hold any grudges, so we'll make this deal work for $1.6 million in Greenbelt funds, despite that, for the kids, Mr. Boykin.
Thank you, Ms. Honeycutt.
Any further
This is for
questions?
kids.
I guess, why does this name Horace is bringing something up? I don't know exactly what it is, but why is the last name Horace bringing something up? I'm trying to find it here now, but something with the landowner and Horace. I don't know what this is all about, but I'm just trying to find out. I thought the name sounds familiar with something another.
I'm sure it's a name you would recognize.
Tell me why, please. Again, I got short-term memory loss. I'm serious.
No, that's okay. Mr. Juarez used to be on a program with Thomas Legree devoted to being highly critical of Charleston County and decisions that we have made in the past. So I just think it's interesting that he would take advantage of our TST program dollars and the Greenbelt program in this way. But again, a noble cause for our students and children that want to play baseball. So I'm going to support it, but
I mean, I like Mr. Legree. I have no problem with him, whatever the case may be, but is this, no offense now, but is this the same Horace but dealing with insurrectionists?
That's it.
Never heard of it.
I don't want to prejudice myself just because someone, did what they thought was the right thing, but at the same time, weren't there the folks who were against taxes and things along those lines? Just help me understand, because again, I don't want to prejudice myself, but if we're talking about someone who went to Washington, D.C.?
oh, I don't know about all that, but I just know that he's been a pretty vocal critic, and so, and I mean, Tom Legree and I feel like I get
know
along.
Legree, good people, I understand that, but
These are the same people, Mr. Darby, that's anti-government until it's something that they want.
anti-government?
Yeah,
So now
until
they're
it's
coming for something?
Yeah, they're coming for something, so he's for government.
Mr. Chair?
Is it possible
Yes,
to
sir.
call for the questioning on this one?
Call for question.
We don't have a motion, so I don't know, there's no question to call for.
Well, there's no
Yeah, but
motion.
don't have a motion yet on the floor?
motion yet.
I'll make the motion, or unless you want to make
Well,
it.
no, I was going to ask to speak one more time, and then y'all can make the motion.
You
That's
can,
fine.
you can speak.
But you can,
I would very humbly ask this council to consider the character of the applicants and the benefit of the children on Johns Island and elsewhere, and take that consideration over the character or alleged conduct of the property owner. Thank you.
Well, let me say this, please. Number of years ago, Mr. Pryor, you may not remember when the city of North Charleston came, and they came for dollars out of season for the Little League. And I went out on the limb for the Little League and was very much criticized by black folk. Why would I want to do that for the Little League when they really weren't integrating anybody? But I was looking at the children for that. But if the owner now is going to be anti-government, that's a difference here. I mean, that would be my question, if it's true what you all are telling me. If he were anti-government, now why come to government to procure dollars for this land at $1.6 million? It's a lot of tax dollars. So if I were to vote against this, it's not that I'm voting against children by no means. By no means. I'm an educator. I'm for children. But at the same time, I think it was T.S. Eliot who said, the greatest form of treason, do the right thing for the wrong reason. And I would have a problem with it.
And I
Pardon me,
would say
sir.
too, I'm looking at the access part too. And, I've always been critical of not having, 100% access. And, will y'all be charging for these tournaments, ma'am? When these people come, will y'all be charging for these tournaments? Will y'all be charging for people to enter these tournaments? Of course. No. So all the baseball games and all the tournaments that you're gonna be bringing down here? Wow, well, how do y'all pay for the referees and the lights and all that other stuff?
All of our referees are volunteer. We run the largest junior referee program in the nation by Little League standards. They come out in September and have a huge clinic for all of our new
further questions? I'm going to support this because of the people who are responsible, the land trust and the barrier, y'all. So I'm going to support this tonight. And we will be voting on this again on Tuesday, I believe, correct?
Right.
All right, thank you.
So we have a motion. I'll make the motion.
We don't have a
We don't.
motion.
I'll make a motion then.
Okay.
You going to second it?
Second.
Moved and seconded.
Roll call, please.
Roll call vote.
Mr. Boykin? Aye. Mr. Darby?
Nay.
Mrs. Honeycutt?
Aye.
Mr. Kabrowski is absent. Mr. Middleton?
Nay.
Mr. Moody?
Nay.
Mr. Pryor?
Nay.
Mr. Werman?
Aye.
Mr. Sass?
Aye.
Motion ties.
So
So
does it move
If-
forward to
Moves
next week?
forward with
if
no
you-
recommendation, and then we'll decide it
it's your
Tuesday.
decision, if you want to send it forward with no
We'll
recommendation.
move forward with no recommendation for
Yes,
next
sir.
week. Thank you. All right, I think that was the last of our items. Thank you all. This meeting is adjourned.
I'm going by.